UFC Fight Night Tuivasa versus Tybura goes down this Saturday, March 16th at the Apex. We are going to be highlighting some of the exciting fights on this card and giving you our thoughts on where we think you should be placing some of those exciting bets. All that and more coming up on the House Call. Welcome back into the Fight Pit. My name is Kyle. I am joined, of course, by Drew, Sean, and Gage. We are going to be talking about all things UFC Fight Night Tuivasa versus Tybura. Before we get to that, I have got to shout out our amazing sponsor at Pillow Fight because, look, if you're anything like me, you have got to get the right pillow to get the best sleep. Luckily, Pillow Fight is that right pillow. I'm talking about the difference between tossing and turning at night versus sleeping like you just got punched by Tai Tuivasa. So get yourself right, get yourself to Pillow Fight, and use the link in our description to save yourself even more money. It is a no-brainer, people. Get yourself some better sleep, and thank you to Pillow Fight for sponsoring this episode. Now, we have got to talk about some of these fights that are going down this Saturday at the Apex. We have got Tuivasa versus Tybura. Very fun, heavyweight action. Very, very exciting knockout artists. And that's not the only power we've got on this card. There are some really, really interesting matchups up and down. Prelims, main card. Look everywhere on this one, people. This one's intriguing, and we're going to start off with a little bit of featherweight action. We got Josh Kulabau taking on Danny Silva. Sean, give me your breakdown on these featherweights.
All right, Josh Kulabau is 11-2-1. He just came off a loss his last fight. Then you got Danny Silva 1-0, and he just came off the Dana White Contender Series, which he was very impressive. Danny Silva is a slight underdog, and this is actually a fun underdog bet if you want to do it. I am going to go with Josh Kulabau. He's an all-around, well-rounded MMA fighter. The thing that does scare me about him is every time he fights someone that has any bit of a name or up in competition, he gets smoked. Like his two losses were against the only two real names he's fought. Other than that, he's fought basically like you say, Kyle, sometimes cans. Like he's fought quite a few of them. And Danny Silva is no fucking can. He really isn't. I think he's gonna do very well. I think this is gonna be a really tough fight for Danny Silva because we have not seen his grappling whatsoever. We don't know. And that's where I think Josh Kulabau will be way better. And I think he's gonna win a 29-28 decision.
No, I like it, and I can definitely see it. This one is, like you said, it's hard to call because Kulabau, the strength of schedule, like we'll sometimes say, has not been the most impressive out of him. And then Danny Silva, just don't like, it's a big question mark in the grappling department. This one's a little bit tougher to see a finish on. I could see this going Danny Silva's way if he's able to keep it standing. But I think the safe money is on Kulabau. Moving right along, we have got some lightweights at 155. Natan
Levy.
I should have gone with it. That was the first instinct. Natan Levy taking on Mike Davis. Big old line on this card, on this fight, which is interesting. Drew, talk to me about this.
This one, Natan Levy opened as a plus 315, and it's justified given that Mike Davis is not only exciting and always hunting for a finish, but he has not fought. He's been inactive since October 2022. So I think that's what the line is reflecting more so than anything, was just the inactivity on Mike Davis's part. But a very even matchup. Natan Levy opened at plus 315. He's, as of yesterday, sitting at a plus 245. So there is some money coming in on Natan Levy, which makes sense. You got a big enough underdog. You gotta sprinkle. You gotta sprinkle a little bit, baby. Natan Levy's 8-1. He has 3 submissions and 5 decision wins. He's riding a 2-fight win streak. His only loss is against Rafa Garcia. Mike Davis, like I said, inactive since October 22, but he is still riding a 3-fight win streak. Only has 2 losses. He's 10-2, only 2 losses in his career. Those 2 losses, Sadiq Youssef and Gilbert Burns.
Dogs.
Nothing to Nothing to fucking, turn your nose up at. He's got 7 KO wins, 1 submission win, 2 decision wins. Both of these guys are awesome fighters. They're fun to watch fight. I think the key to victory for Mike Davis, ultimately, keep the fight standing, try to utilize the superior striking. Natan Levy is no slouch in the striking, but that is not his forte. He has 3 submission wins and 5 decisions, to Mike Davis's 1 submission win and 2 decisions. I think Mike Davis is looking for the knockout. I think Natan Levy is looking to keep the fight, take the fight to the later rounds, to stay on the outside, maybe get the fight to the ground if possible, but do whatever he can to avoid getting into a straight up kickboxing match with Mike Davis. Mike Davis is, he can crack. He can crack. You do not want to stand there and trade punches with this guy. It's great to have him back. He's an exciting 155er that we haven't got to see in a couple years, so it'll be interesting to see how he does in his return. Ultimately, I'm going with Mike Davis. I'm going to say that he gets the KO. I'm going to say it comes under 2.5. But like I said, sprinkle on Natan Levy, because 2 years is a long time off.
2 years is a long time off. And the hope is absolutely, if you're in Levy's camp, to take Mike Davis into those later rounds, hope that you can gas him out, tire him out, and get rid of some of that power, leech some of that power away from him, as it were. But he is so dangerous, Mike Davis, as a puncher, and he's so dangerous early on. So I think that is absolutely something to keep an eye out for with a knockout on this one. Moving right down, we have got our guy, C-Rod, Christian Rodriguez, taking on Isaac Dulgarian, 145-pound action. And as soon as he rotates, Gage is going to tell me all about these featherweights.
C-Rod is 10-1, fighting someone that's 6-0 in their second fight in UFC. Christian Rodriguez has been around since 2001 in the UFC. Has fought, I believe this will be his 6th fight in UFC. He's looked phenomenal ever since losing his UFC debut in 2021, and has consistently gotten better and better. And the biggest point to that is the Raul Rosas fight. He had impeccable takedown defense against Raul Rosas and shut down his game plan and excelled at his own takedowns and was just incredibly much better on the feet. Going into this fight, he needs to take it to the ground, use his grappling. I don't think he has the edge on the feet at all. I think he's outpowered, but he's not a slouch striking by any means, but I think he's just outclassed and outpowered on the feet. But I think his game plan will be to get him on the ground. And I would take C-Rod by decision.
I like it. This is one of those underdog picks where I'm like, yeah, you got to take the dog on this one. It's C-Rod. How can you not like it? Go with the decision. I like that especially. That fight is so interesting, and it's indicative of, I feel like, the future of 145, which is just very exciting top to bottom. We'll get to a little bit of how exciting 145 could potentially be later on. But before we do, we've got to talk about some 205 action. I'm talking, of course, about fan favorite veteran Ovince St. Preux taking on powerhouse Kennedy Nzechukwu. And it's almost tradition for House Call at this point. We've got to do this. We've got to take the old guy out back. But last time, hey, Drew, when we tried to take the old guy out back, Drew said, no. We are not taking the old guy all the way out back, and he saved us, taking us from 9-5 on our 299 record to a 10-4 with his save. So shout out to Drew. This is not that. I don't think this is, Ovince St. Preux is, not 35. He's 40. Dustin Poirier had a little bit less of that old man staring him down. Ovince St. Preux has been there, done that. Don't get it twisted. Absolutely a game competitor. Has still, had some decent performances in recent memory, but his most recent, last 5 or so fights, he's been, 2-3, lot of knockouts on the receiving end. So you have to wonder how compromised his chin is. And if you're compromised, going up against a guy like Kennedy Nzechukwu is not the best solution to gain your chin back. This guy is ferocious. He's bringing a 12-4 record in 8 knockouts and only 1 submission, 3 decisions. So he is absolutely coming for the knockout. And in this case, I definitely think he's going to get it. This will be an under 2.5. I don't know if it'll be a first round knockout, but he will definitely find OSP's chin and he'll turn the lights out. So I'm going with Kennedy Nzechukwu by a second round KO/TKO on this one.
And I say sprinkle on OSP for a submission.
Yeah, honestly,
you can't not.
That is his best. That's the best case scenario for him winning the fight is by trying.
They rename the Von Flu after him.
They need to. Because he absolutely can. He has to close the distance because Nzechukwu has the reach advantage. But if he can close the distance and secure some takedowns, he can do some real damage. But I can't.
Time off is not people's friends.
It's not. Speaking of veterans that we love, though, we got Gerald Meerschaert. He's taking on Brian Barbanera. And Drew, you got to talk to me about this 185-pound matchup. This
one actually opened at minus 250 for Gerald GM3. Barberena opened at plus 205. He has moved to plus 195. So there is a little bit of people giving him a chance in this one. He's only had one fight, Brian Barberena. He's only had one fight at middleweight so far, his last fight, and that was a loss. He's fought at lightweight. He's fought at welterweight. Damn near fought everybody at welterweight. And I think moving up the middleweight is, I understand. It's natural. It's one of those things that you do as you age. You either get bigger or you get smaller. Against Gerald Meerschaert, though, it's going to be difficult to get your first win at middleweight against someone like GM3. He's 35-17, 6 KOs. Meerschaert has 27 submission wins. God. The Brian Barberena, 18-11. He has 11 KOs, 2 subs, and 5 decision wins. Of course, only one of those fights at middleweight, so we got to take that into account. Gerald Meerschaert is on a 2-fight skid, and against Brian Barberena, who's on a 3-fight skid, including his debut at middleweight. It wasn't the worst showing, but ultimately didn't go his way. I think this is a move up in the fighting rankings for Barberena, which is, coming off a loss, usually pretty odd. This one, I don't think there's any big secret. Gerald Meerschaert is going to be looking to take the fight down. Brian Barberena needs to keep the fight standing if he's going to have a chance, because if GM3 gets on top of him, it's not looking good. It's not looking good. That's the last place he wants to be. His best shot, Barberena, is by knockout. If he's able to, we've seen people dominate the striking against Gerald Meerschaert multiple times before. It's pressure and moving forward, getting in his face, making sure that he's uncomfortable at all times, not letting him get takedowns, not letting him clinch as best you can. Brian Barberena, he's always got the puncher's chance. He's one of the few guys that you can never really write off as far as the puncher's chance goes. There's a handful of guys at those weight classes that you always have to be wary of the knockout punch from. Brian Barberena is one of them. But I got Gerald Meerschaert. I'm going to say it's going to be over 1.5. If it's not a submission, it'll be a Gerald Meerschaert decision. And let's just hope that Brian Barberena is able to stave off those takedown attempts, or else it's going to be a boring one.
It'll be snooze fest. It'll be either snooze fest or it'll be a quick night at the office for Gerald Meerschaert, because I can absolutely see Brian Barberena gassing, because he does have a very high significant strikes landed per minute, one of the higher ones on this card. but I don't like his odds of putting out Gerald Meerschaert. And there's a really real world where this is a little bit of a snooze, but this is also really exciting if you like submission grappling, because Gerald Meerschaert is going to be looking for that submission, and you just gotta love GM3. It's always fun watching.
Not many people out there with 27 fucking submission
wins.
wins.
It's obscene. The amount of submissions on that record is absurd.
He's got 37 wins, 27 of them by submission. It's unheard of.
No, it's wild.
Those are
moving right down along this card, we have got a co-main event to talk about. We have got Bryan Battle. We have got Angel Lusa. They're facing off at 170. I look at Angel Lusa and I'm like, there's no fucking way that guy weighs 170 pounds, because he's huge. He's a monster. And then on the other side of it, Bryan Battle is just a skinny little twig of a guy. So in this for me, it's really the idea of the power punching bomber versus the sniper. Bryan Battle is gonna have to stick and move from the outside. He has to avoid some insane power shots from Angel Lusa. Like, over half of his wins have come by knockout. 6.32 significant strikes landed per minute. That is obscene. 46% accuracy with it. He does take a lot of significant strikes. He also happens to have a 100% takedown defense. So this guy is like the definition of just a little brick shithouse. Bryan Battle, I think that, the favorite on this is warranted. This is really hard to pick because of the power on the other side with Lusa. I'm going to throw it to Sean first, so you can give the breakdown of what you think is going down in our co-main event.
So I decided to watch Bryan Battle's last fight, and he ended up taking some incredible shots to the jaw. And what I've noticed is this man has a chin that's deceptive. It's like you expect him to be able to get knocked out, like looking at his build, but he has that Max Holloway chin. Like, so that's the thing with Lusa, that is going to be a power puncher that could put him out. I don't think he will. I think he could win a round with the damage he does. He could even get a knockdown. Bryan Battle's chin is just insane, and we forget that Bryan Battle is incredible grappler. 6 submissions, and there's the big difference to me. If we could get a ground game in this fight, Bryan Battle will dominate, and that's what I'm going to think. I'm going to think Bryan Battle is going to get a submission in the 3rd round.
And I can see it. I can absolutely see it. It would be later. I don't like it necessarily under 2.5, but I can definitely see it happening still. That late submission from a gassed Lusa, throwing those power shots. He's huge. It's terrifying. It's terrifying to look at. Gage, talk to me about this one.
I am with Sean on the under one. It's a 3-round fight, correct?
Yeah. So this is not a 5-round co-main.
Yeah. So I'm with Sean on the under 1.5 here. Except I'm going the other way. I'm going absolute haymaker from Lusa. Absolute haymaker. Like, yes, Bryan Battle can add a chin. Sean's 100% correct. Man, he can eat some shots. But they're all accumulated on that chin. And man, those are some bombs. Anytime Lusa steps in the ring, in the octagon, bombs.
He is so powerful.
So I think like 1 or 2 of those, and I don't think, no matter how granite your chin is, I don't think unless you're not a human being, I don't think you're walking through that. I don't think you're gonna be in trouble early. But on the flip side, if it goes over 1.5 into 3-round territory, it's all Bryan Battle every day on the ground.
No, I agree. It's a tale of 2 halves. It feels like.
But officially,
you get past that point of no return.
My pick is knockout Lusa.
I like it. Drew, round us out. I don't know. I don't want to be the tiebreaker, but I might have to be.
Well, both guys have made solid points, and I don't have any arguments with either of those. The thing that stands out to me, though, too, like Sean was saying, is just Battle is so damn tough. Aside from, like I covered last week, Curtis Blades having the most fucking Mortal Kombat name ever. How appropriate is it that your last name is Battle and you're a fucking MMA fighter? That's just doesn't get any more solid than that. I don't know what else you would do. And his fighting style reflects that. He's just one of those dudes that guts it out and is able to win fights that, you know, a lot of them, I don't think he was favored in most of them too. I know there was a couple close ones, but I think he was the underdog in a lot of them. So it's good to see him as the favorite in this one. The thing that stands out to me too about Lusa, I like Lusa if this fight does not go to a decision, but Lusa's dating back to even pre-Dana White Contender Series, his last 7 fights have gone to a decision. He's won 4 of them, I believe, lost 3 of them. And, you know, he's got a loss to Jack Della Maddalena on the Contender Series. So these aren't really like decision. Yeah, these aren't really like decision losses that you can write him off for. But I'm gonna go with Battle to gut this one out. I think that he's gonna be able to drag it into the later rounds. If there's gonna be a finish, I think it's on Lusa's side at all. And I think going Lusa by knockout in the first round, Lusa by knockout in the second round, they got to be pretty short odds, but definitely plus money since he's the underdog in this one. But I think Lusa has to land. Lusa has to get Brian Battle feeling uncomfortable, because he's one of those dudes that the longer it goes on, the more confident he gets, the more like settled he becomes, the more it becomes like his domain. He gets that like, this is my fucking house type of approach to it. The longer the fight goes on. Yeah, and I mean, that's the same thing that he did on The Ultimate Fighter. Same thing that he's been doing. It's no. He's just going up against tough dudes. He ends up gutting it out, and I'm gonna go with Battle by decision. But if there's we got a lot of solid underdogs on this one. If there's an underdog to fucking lay the house on, it's Lusa in this one for sure.
He is the most intriguing underdog on this card. I am going to go with Brian Battle by decision as well. It just makes too much sense for me. Like, Brian Battle, I loved watching him go through Ultimate Fighter. I loved watching him, go through, at the start of his UFC career. I think his technique is really, really good. And he is just plain fun to watch, Drew. Like you said, once he starts getting into a rhythm, once he gets into that flow. So I think the first round is going to be really, really critical. If Brian Battle can get out of that first round unscathed, he will be in his fucking bag and he will be flowing. And I think he can easily coast to a 29-27 almost, because of how much he can turn it on in those later rounds. Moving right down along, we've got a main event that is just the definition of a coin flip. We have got Ty Bam Bam Tuivasa versus Marcin Tybura. It's heavyweights, people. It's a puncher's chance. It's a blink and you'll miss it type of fight. The only safe bet on this fight is the under on the rounds. Make sure you take a finish on this fight. That is all I can say before I throw it to Sean to give me his breakdown.
This is one of those that you basically say, who do you like more, and put money on them if you're not going to bet the under. That's really it, because it's going to be a finish. Yes, Tybura has submissions under his belt, but Tai Tuivasa, he's only been submitted by actually really good grapplers. So I don't think this will be a case where he'll get submitted here. The last time Tai Tuivasa went on a skid, right before he went on that crazy run, he knew he was on like basically the cut block. I believe he's near that right now. He's a main event on a fight night when this guy should be selling out a stadium. He's in Apex. It's like, there's something up if he loses this fight, and I think he knows the pressure is on him. I'm going to say Tai Tuivasa gets the first round knockout, and honestly, that's me being biased too, because who doesn't like watching him do a shoey?
It's the best part of my fight night. Every time he's on and gets that knockout, and he grabs that shoe, I'm in heaven. I am in heaven. And I know Gage is in heaven too. So I am assuming that Gage is going to agree with you, Sean.
I mean, what gave it away?
The beautiful shoe.
Oh, whatever kind I've put here gave it away. No, Sean said it right away. It comes down to who you think gets the knockout first. Who do you like more? Just a complete bias. I was thinking about it earlier today. I was at the gym looking at the fights and thinking about, the main event itself. It could go either way at any point in time. It just you have to be biased with this fight. There's no other way around it. There's no statistical thing that give either one of them an edge. It just ties on the skid. But like Sean just said, last time his back against the wall, he went on a ridiculous run. Like, to the point where, like, all right, maybe Tuivasa is getting shot at the belt. And then went on the skid. He has the same Derek Lewis energy. That's the best way to put it. How we all love Derek Lewis. Every time he gets in there, always can pull random shit and get a knockout win with one hit. And Ty is the same way. And my money is we're seeing a Shooey because we're getting a knockout in the second round. And I will be doing a Shooey right there with him because fuck it, why not? I do it for rugby anyway.
There you have it, people. Gage will be doing a Shooey along with Ty Tuivasa. Drew, round us out. Is this a unanimous one?
I am more so than anything hoping for the Shooey. I think if you guys haven't seen Gage do a Shooey, you're in for a fucking treat. This the Shooey king over here. This the resident fucking. We have a expert in Shooeys at House Call, and you guys are looking at him. But this one, dude, I say it all the time. These fucking heavyweights that are main eventing is. If there's any fights that blow my parlays, that it's heavyweight fights in the main event. This one, it 100% should be under 1.5. It should be a finish. It should be. I mean, either way, like the boys said, you can't get any cleaner than that. Pick who you like better. It's a coin flip for a reason, and just hope for the best. But every time there's fucking heavyweights in the main event that are supposed to go under 1.5. It's a 5-round fucking decision. It blows everybody's parlays. It's the last leg that just cleans house, and Vegas fucking wins again. This one, like Sean was saying, so Tai Tuivasa was undefeated up until he had his first loss. He went on 3-fight skid in a row. After that, went on a 5-fight knockout streak, and now he's on a 3-fight skid again. So time says that Tuivasa should be able to turn it around in this one. It should be a knockout under 1.5. Tybura, though, unfortunately, in his last 9 fights, he's only got 2 losses to Aspinall and Volkov. Not anything to write him off about, of course. Fighting the top of the top, it happens. In his last 9 fights, 2 of them have gone under 1.5 rounds. I think that's what he is banking on. I think that Tybura is going to try to weather the storm. He's going to drag it out. He's going to get a takedown. He's going to hold fucking Tuivasa down. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I think that's what Tybura's plan is, though. And I am laying my money on Tai Tuivasa. I want the Shooey. I want the knockout. I want him to get back in the win column. He's one of the he's one of the biggest fan favorites. There's nobody on earth that doesn't like Tai Tuivasa. If anybody says they don't like Tai Tuivasa, that's as casual as it gets. They just don't know who he is. The smart money under 1.5, you can go either way, bet either guy under 1.5. It's gonna be long odds. You're not gonna make very much because that's what's gonna be favored. But I'm definitely sprinkling a little bit on over. I'm gonna go Tai Tuivasa by knockout. I'm gonna say under 3.5 just to be safe. But I can't confidently say that this is going to go under 1.5 because that's what I feel deep in my heart, and my heart is often wrong when it comes to these fucking heavyweights in the main event. So I got Tai Tuivasa, but I'm going to go under 3.5 just to be safe.
It's for real, because for every Pat Barry versus Czech Congo, we get a Francis Ngannou versus Derek Lewis snooze fest, and we have to keep that in mind. Fuck, why did I even bring it up? Like, it's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. Tai Tuivasa is going to get the knockout. I'm gonna round us out with being all unanimous. I am obviously all in on
Shooey,
Tuivasa. I need the Shooey to happen. I need it to happen for my soul to feel complete on Saturday, because that is when this is going down. There you have it. Those are some of the fights that we find a little bit more exciting on the upcoming UFC Fight Night. Tuivasa versus Tybura going down, of course, this Saturday, March 16th at the Apex in Las Vegas. Make sure you tune in. We covered a little bit of the prelims. We covered a little bit of the main card. We, of course, as always, talked about our co-main and main events. There's action up and down this entire card. Some great prospects. Listen, 9-5 on our last one, 10-4 with Drew's save. Like I said, you already know we're coming. This is what we do. If you're not riding with us, what are you doing? But that is all that she wrote for us this time. Until the next time, that is Drew, that is Sean, that is Gage. My name's Kyle. It has been so great hanging out with y'all in the Fight Pit. Until the next time, peace.